This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Don't forget to view our spoiler-free companion video on our Half Past Podcast channel on YouTube. Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is episode 59, the movie review of Ghost in the Shell. We will also be discussing the Fate and the Furious trailer. I'm Graham Rexton. Here with me is my friend and co-pilot Ian Jones.
That's, by the way, that's hashtag F8.
Yeah, right?
F8. Hashtag F8.
Hashtag Fate.
If that was on someone's license plate, they would want you to pronounce it F8. Not Fate. F. All right.
Oh, man. How have you been, man?
Pretty good. You know,
we missed Power Rangers, unfortunately. It's kind of unfortunate. Well, we missed Power Rangers.
Okay, so that's actually what I wanted to say. Because,
okay, all right.
Because I really want to figure out how we can squeeze in Power Rangers, because I have all this stuff to talk about, all these anecdotes to talk about Power Rangers wise, and I can't say them right now.
All right, well, you know what? We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll do like a catch-up episode or something.
Yes, that would be good.
All right, awesome. So, you got the Fate and the Furious trailer, right?
Yeah, F8.
Okay, yes. It's, I really don't have much to say about this trailer, mainly because it's Fast and the Furious, but it's just such a weird... I cannot believe that we're on the 8th movie of Fast and the Furious. It's shocking how long this franchise has lasted and how much it's evolved from its original inception.
Right. Yeah. It really has changed from what the original movie was.
Oh, yeah. The original movie was basically just a car movie that had kind of a basic kind of BS story to go along with it that was very similar to...
yeah, it was like Point Break with
Point
cars.
Break, yeah. It was like Point Break with cars. Yeah, you knew where my head was at on that. And... so it was just like this really basic storyline along with this, and it's turned into like this group of people that are like doing heists and stuff, and now it's evolved into where we're at now, where there's this overall arcing story that's added all these characters and all these actors, and this time around they've added in Charlize Theron, which could not have been cheap, right?
No. And you wonder how much, she's in the trailers. You wonder how much of the movie she's actually in, considering that there's also Kurt Russell and... yeah,
Kurt Russell's added in there. And so now you have... isn't... Yep. Yeah. You have Jason Statham now has like a bigger, like a larger role in this too, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Have you seen all the Fast and Furious movies?
So I didn't. However, the thing I would recommend, because I know that you've missed some.
Oh yeah.
The last one with Paul Walker that they had to finish with his brother.
Yeah.
Stepping in a strange way, summed up the other ones.
Weird.
So if you can watch whatever the last one was called, F7, F7.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a really good one because it lets you kind of skate over a couple other movies.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll give that one a watch if I have the time. We'll see what happens.
But I have a feeling they kind of make these to where really you can watch them and not have seen them all.
I would assume
obviously,
so,
yeah. 8 is a lot.
Oh yeah,
of movies.
Yep.
And it isn't Star Wars, so you don't have to. and now here's where I transition things to Star Wars. No,
yes.
I'm kidding. But anytime I can move a conversation to Star Wars, I will.
Yeah.
Damn it. So yeah, the funny thing is, I don't know how funny it is, but they were reporting they just did the premiere for this movie, and apparently the studio had this time fool me once, like a fool me once type scenario. Apparently The Rock and Vin Diesel do not get along at all. They started fighting on set.
I've heard stories about that, how they just don't get along.
so this time they had like some press thing, and apparently it got out of control. So now, they learned their lesson, and they had handlers at the movie premiere keeping these two apart, which I think is just absolutely absurd, but whatever.
It is such a weird, I wonder why they just rub each other the wrong way, because all you hear about is how great The Rock is on a set. You hear tons of directors talk about how he's really easygoing and he's really easy to work with. But then you have this Fast and the Furious franchise, and apparently Vin Diesel and him just do not get along, and it's just such a weird
And if you look at how the last ones have been filmed, they've almost kept them apart in the movies,
right?
Too.
It's a really weird thing, but that's definitely what I've heard of. Also, it's such a crazy thing. The only other thing I have to say about the fate of the Furious is
Fate. Let's get it right now. Hashtag Fate.
You know what? They've had a lot of fun with these titles since.
Right. Yes.
Since Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious. I was hoping for 3 Fast, 3 Furious. Instead, they came out with Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo
and I'm like, what is this bullshit? This is BS, man.
Oh man.
We were denied 3 Fast, 3 Furious.
It's such a weird naming convention that they've had. And the only other thing I want to say is that it's just they have worked really hard to progressively make what's happening in these movies more and more ridiculous, stunt-wise.
Yes.
You wouldn't think that. I think the last one was the one was the plane. Was that the last one? Where they try to pull the plane down the cars, and now there's a submarine and tanks.
There's a submarine, but the trailer I got this time around, and unfortunately, it looks mostly like all CGI.
Oh yeah,
but it was Charlize Theron takes control all the cars in the city, and all these cars are just driving off parking lots and stuff. Right now,
off of parking
I'm just
garages.
oh my god, that's insane.
Oh yeah,
this is insane.
That's one of those things where they should have kept it out of the trailer. That way, when it happens in the theater, you're just like, "What is going on? This is madness."
I'll tell you, it'll make you think twice about driving downtown anywhere.
Oh, it's just crazy. You got anything else for this trailer?
No, I don't.
All right, let's.
Other than I think this is going to be this one will be fun for us to review.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be a fun one. All right, so let's take a quick break and then let's get into Ghost in the Shell. In the near future, a human saved from a terrible crash is cyber-enhanced to be a perfect soldier devoted to stopping the world's most dangerous criminals. Got it. This movie is directed by Rupert Sanders. Now, Rupert Sanders, the only other movie he's done is Snow White and the Huntsman. And this is the same guy who had all the controversy.
Oh, this guy.
Yes.
I love this guy.
This is the guy that had all the controversy, and it was the reason why he couldn't do the sequel. Because of the issues he had with Kristen Stewart.
Who is gay now.
Was it worth it?
Was it worth it, Rupert?
Oh, why would you throw away opportunities?
She left that teen heartthrob shovel face for a guy named Rupert.
Yep, and it just doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure
Rupert.
As a director, it's just not worth throwing your career away for somebody like Kristen Stewart. But at least he got another movie, right? I guess he got another one. All right, this movie starring Scarlett Johansson as Major. She was in The Island, The Prestige, and Her. Next up, we have Pillow Aspik. I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Pillow Aspik.
Pillow Aspik. That's how you say his name. I guess he's Dutch or something. As Bato, who was in Lucy and in Ben-Hur. Takashi Kitano as Aramaki. This guy has been in a lot of like he's actually a comedian over in Japan, but he's mainly known for out here for the movies he's been in, and he's been in a lot of just like really cool Japanese movies. Boiling Point he was in, and he was also in Zatoichi, which is another cool little movie, the newer version of Zatoichi. Juliette Binoche as Dr. Roulette. She was in The English Patient, and she was recently in Godzilla. Do you remember her in Godzilla?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to say I'm glad that you're pronouncing these names.
Oh, it's pretty interesting.
This is definitely an international cast for all the controversy that there's been.
Yes, which is a very interesting statement that goes along with this movie, because it is an international cast. They have a lot of Juliette Binoche is French, and you have Pillow Aspik, he's like Dutch, and there's just a lot of different things that's going on in there. And you got Takashi Kitano, who's Japanese. So it's been very interesting how much effort they've put in to really make quite a colorful cast, even though all the controversy was behind it. Michael Pitt as Kuze, I believe is how it was, and he's in The Village, Boardwalk Empire, and Hannibal, the TV show. Chin Han as Togosa. They were in The Dark Knight, 2012, and Contagion. And because this is a pretty contained story, I'm just going to stop there with the
Good, that's fine.
With
that
the
saves
actors.
you some funny pronunciation. So, all right, let's butcher some more names.
Let's butcher some more names. Now, it's been pretty interesting, and like all the controversy around this movie and just the whole whitewashing in Hollywood type of thing, which I have never really been that outspoken about it, because if it's characters, I just don't care. But when it comes to like historical figures, it makes a little more sense to me. You know, when you have somebody playing, Egyptian, who's like actual person, it's kind of weird. Like an actual historical figure,
like a white guy.
Yeah, right. To have like a white guy there. But as far as this movie's concerned, I think Scarlett Johansson really looks like Major, and I don't know if you watched the show or the other show or the original movie or even had any involved with the manga. But, I mean, she just kind of looks a lot like her, and it's kind of funny how that works out.
She does, and, I felt like, and this was one of the, I didn't really have this down in my list, but I thought it was really interesting because of the way that the story planned out.
Yes.
She was, she was a refugee, so...
Yes.
And she never, at any point, each time she looks at herself, it's like she doesn't recognize who she's looking at.
Yes, it
throughout
is.
the entire movie.
So
this was, this was a Japanese young woman who,
yes.
They completely stole her identity.
Yes.
And, made it so that she couldn't remember anything. She couldn't recognize who she was, because she now had this new backstory that terrorists blew up her refugee boat.
Yes.
And so they gave her an appearance to match.
Yes.
And I thought that was a really clever way around this casting, because obviously getting someone like Scarlett Johansson as your star is a big coup. I mean,
yes.
she's going to sell tickets, as opposed to maybe some other actress from a different background who maybe may not.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought they definitely explained it in a way to where it makes sense. And even though it takes away from the actual original character just a little bit, they definitely explain why they basically explain how she's just like a white girl or whatever.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that she's actually created, which is a part of the storyline, that she's created and they put their ghost in this shell. All right, so I guess we're going to go ahead and take a break then, and then we'll go ahead and start talking more about this movie. So we'll get into the quirks and likes here. All right, Jones, now we're back to our quirks and likes section. So
we're back.
So
right.
I'm going to do things a little differently this time, and I'm going to let you go first. Huh?
No. Really?
Curveball. Yep.
Damn,
curveball.
That's awesome. Man, you're awesome, and you have an awesome beard there. You gorgeous black man, you. All right. All right, I'm going first.
All right, let's do it.
Let's drive this thing off a cliff here. Whoa, curveball, man. All right. Okay, so I think the biggest thing that I had an issue with for this movie, because I really liked it overall.
Okay.
But Hanka versus Section 9. The line between these two organizations, I thought, was never really defined.
No, it was not.
I saw the original movie, the original animated movie.
Yeah, from '95.
But I don't remember it a whole lot.
Yeah, me neither. I'm kind of like, I just like don't really remember that one, but I definitely saw it like a long time ago. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it is pretty old.
Yeah.
But I guess why would Hanka allow Major to work for Section 9 if she's so important to the future of their company, if they don't have control over whatever this group is supposed to be, which, you know, they're like investigators and, you know, they're like a police force.
It's like like you said, the whole defining line isn't there. The problem is I'm not exactly sure whether Section 9 is something else or is it a part of Hanka, right? Like they don't really explain it.
Because they don't say that, and they are supposed to be something else.
Yeah,
but they have this character that they talk about, the Prime Minister, who they never show.
No, not once.
So a name comes up twice, and they never show.
No.
They never show him, but you know, I thought that was a bit of a confusing line because, you know, she's working for Section 9, but she keeps going back to Hanka and to be fixed and everything. So I wanted there to be more of a definition, because if these two organizations are at war, you know, and that's kind of what it seems like happens towards the end of the movie.
That's exactly what it feels like.
You know, I guess I want to know why, and it seems like it couldn't possibly end where it is.
Yeah.
You know, if that company is as big as they claim to be. So, you know, that's one of those things where that almost feels like sort of a sequel thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Because, and this was my other quirk, you know, Hanka is the real villain of the story. But the entire time they're teasing Kuze, who is one of the Ghost in the Shell villains.
Yes.
But he isn't the main one. He's definitely a thorn in Section 9's side.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would rather see him built and rounded out, because he was really cool, I thought, for most of the movie. But then he becomes really less important because Cutter, who is, you know, a guy that they just came up with.
Yeah.
You know, the CEO of Hanka,
the CEO that's just
ends up like taking over as the villain right at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So I thought those two things were pretty big issues for me. Like who the real villain was, which is definitely the Robotics Corporation.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it just gets that organized, the robotics, Hanka Robotics, gets personified by their CEO Cutter.
Yes.
Who is who is not concerned about getting his hands dirty.
No.
You know, which I think is kind of a cool thing, but it almost seems like sort of a sequel kind of thing to introduce it, you know. So I just thought that was a little confusing because the lines were really blurred between those two parts.
Yeah, and that was one of my biggest issues about this movie too, because we don't really get what Henke stands for, and you don't really get what Section 9 has to do with him, like you're saying. So I mean, it was a really weird blurring, and I'm trying to think, like, even with this guy Cutter, who, well, even at the end of the movie when he dies, you're just like, when you have that switch over during that scene of Kuze and Cutter, this character, even when he dies, you're just like, it's kind of a very uneventful death. And I'm like not exactly sure, like, his death wasn't even satisfying enough. So like at the end of the movie, I kind of just don't feel anything at the end of the movie, and that's definitely a big part of this entire movie for me. Is I spent a lot of time just kind of being confused with different aspects to this movie, and I think it has kind of a weird pacing problem. So I'm just like bored through a lot of this movie. And there's definitely some really, really interesting scenes and interesting builds up with these characters, but I just didn't have much of a care for them as I progressed through the story. So I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's just like how I felt when I was watching the movie.
Well, you know, and I think that's part of it. And I was going to save this for likes, but for my likes section. But I really felt like, what if you had the same elements, but it focused more on Section 9, and it focused more on the investigation for why these killings were taking place, because that's how the movie seemed to start. Yes. They were trying to track this terrorist. So if the film was more of a investigation, and you followed the Section 9 characters instead, which would include Major.
Yes.
I think that makes more sense.
I think that makes a lot more sense also.
It's a little bit of a different movie then,
yeah,
you know,
it would turn into more of a detective investigative story.
More of a detective story. So yes. I just felt like, you know, there are a couple of different like identities that the movie's trying to find, and I think obviously it ends up at some point needing to be about Major anyway, but there's all this other stuff going on that maybe doesn't get explained and fully rounded out.
No, it doesn't really get fully rounded out. Another example of how it doesn't really get fully rounded out is you have this Cutter character that seems to be like taking over different, like, just people themselves, because everybody's getting cybernetically enhanced, and they're using technology apparently Henke has control over. So like Cutter has that one guy, just like gives him a completely false memory, and has him try to take out a bunch of people. And to me, it's just such a weird. It's like there's way more involved in the story, because it's like it gets kind of jumbled up because of the two different villains you have, Kuze and Henke, and everything just gets mixed up when it comes to who's the antagonist of this movie. And so I think that that's what I have a huge problem with. And so I kept getting confused whether Henke was doing something or Cutter was doing something, and I just didn't, or not Cutter, Kuze was doing something, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And I think that was a huge problem with just me trying to follow how this movie was presented to me. Like I was just confused through a lot of the movie, and I think that had a lot to do with just kind of how it was directed. It probably should have explained the story a little better, because even them just talking, like when Major is talking to or interrogating that guy who was given the false memories, she keeps talking about, where did he get the weapons from and where he did that, and they kind of don't explain that either.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that. It's just there's a lot of that in this movie where I'm just like, man, like I don't understand what happened there, and it's not explained. And so through the whole time, I'm just really just kind of confused at how this story goes.
I mean, so you brought up a really good point. Where'd you get the weapons from? Because they're sitting in that garbage truck, and they're going through their regular day.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a huge leap between how those two end up getting hacked and why, and how they just how they're in the right place at the right time.
At the right time, yeah.
And they just happen to have weapons.
Yes.
On them. But there's other stuff too where like is his name Bateau or Batu?
Bateau.
Bateau. So
I think it's Bateau is what it
Bateau.
is.
Bateau. Yeah, that's right, Bateau. He finds her. She goes off grid, and he finds her swimming in the ocean.
Yes.
And he brings her back in his fishing boat.
Yeah.
But then he drops her off. He drops her off at the dock where there's all these Hanka agents waiting to capture her.
Oh yeah.
And he just leaves her there.
Yes.
And that never gets addressed. That's like there's like an entire missing conversation where this guy clearly would do anything for Major, and yet he leaves her on the dock where there are all these bad guys there.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to smack my forehead because I was just like, what are we missing here?
Right? It almost seems like you needed a sequence of him in the truck with her going, you sure you want to do this?
Right. You sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
But it is not in the movie.
No.
And also, like, all the scientists get killed, and the 86s, and Cutter himself, 86 is the last one, the most important scientist they have.
Yes.
And yet, Major still ends up getting rebuilt at the end of the movie, and none of that is shown or talked about.
No.
So, I mean, there are things like that are frustrating, where, as an audience, you can, like, okay, well, she went back and got healed.
Well,
but how? How? Damn it!
So here's the deal, and this is one of my likes about this movie.
All right,
is this this movie? It really has the one of the things that's really good about this movie is it has the tone and feel of the 1995 movie. So it feels like you're watching this anime, but the problem is you get both good and bad. That's the kind of stuff that happens.
Right.
In that movie where it's just not explained, and it's just like, well, it doesn't matter. You've got this, you went through this story together, and that's it. But we don't really explain everything. And so, but that happens with a lot of different anime movies, and it feels like that in this movie. This movie feels like an anime. They did like a great job doing that, but you get the good and the bad from that, which is really disappointing. It's like, it's something different about when you watch anime. It's almost something different about how, like, just Japanese storytelling in general, you're just like, it's just something we're like missing, it seems like. And I think there's a lot of implying, because so many animes are made off of mangas, I think there's a lot of, they just kind of assume you know more of the story that's going on because a manga does exist that's like a ton of books, and so when the movie comes out, they're like, we should already know a lot of this other stuff that's supposed to fill in this story. That's what it just seems like. So it seems like nothing's really standalone when I watch an anime movie. So, and that's what this one feels like too. I feel like I needed more information that I just didn't receive. But that's just how it is. But I mean, they did a really good job of making it feel like the 95 movie.
All right, I think that's it for me as far as quirks, buddy.
Okay, well, we already started discussing the more deeper stuff about this movie. So now I have to say something that just annoyed the crap out of me through this whole movie.
Okay,
so
all right.
And this is one of those things where it's like, obviously it's nothing to do with the movie itself, but I could not stand Scarlett Johansson's gait in this movie. She had this really weird walk. Like, it was, the whole point of creating essentially the perfect soldier that's able to blend into the environment, and she's walking like that the whole time. And I'm like, you can tell she's a damn robot. Like, she's not blending in at all. And the whole point of her is she's made to fight gracefully. You know, that was the point of her being in the form she's in. And yet, she all of a sudden, when she's just having a walk, she walks with this, like, robotic, like, she does this, like, full turn, like, she turns, like, 180 degrees or 90 degrees. She doesn't just, like, make a subtle turn.
Well,
the whole time.
You know, I wonder if that has to do with what she was wearing more than anything. because she's wearing this skin tight thing that probably didn't really that probably forced her to walk like that.
I love your explanation of this problem. And you know what? You're probably not wrong. It's just like a really restricting...
Right. It's just really restricting. It's like so damn tight.
It's kind of like, do you remember the original Batman movie with Michael Keaton? The Tim Burton one, where the cowl didn't have the ability to move turn his head?
Well, so I mean, most of them have had that, yeah.
So you get like this, a lot of these weird kind of like head turning things.
He has to
he has to like turn his whole body in the direction.
His whole body.
Yeah.
What was that? Who keeps saying that? What was that?
It's kind of like that. But that's all I wanted. That was my pointless little thing that I had to mention because it annoyed the crap out of me through the whole movie.
Interesting.
All right. You want to get into the likes?
Let's do it.
All right. You want to start?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I do want to start.
All right.
All right. Visually, it's stunning, which is the understatement of the year. I thought it was just incredible.
I thought there was a lot of visually impressive scenes. You're right. I agree with that statement.
I'm going to shave your head for agreeing with me. It's so much fun to look at.
It is a very pretty movie. I definitely agree.
You know, I liked how they dealt with Major's character and, you know, her race being changed.
Yes. That was really cool.
I really liked the part where she came home, you know, and got to meet who her mom was.
Oh yeah, I thought that scene was kind of a weird scene, but after it came full circle, it was a great just addition to the movie to kind of explain her background and her history. It was just weird having some random woman walk up to you and you invite her into her house for tea. It's very awkward. And you almost wanted to get more from the mom to where she was just kind of like staring at her more often, like at the beginning. So that she kind of realized that it's like, well, you feel like my daughter, and that's why she would bring her in. But you don't really get that. It's almost like you have the cat. Oh, she likes you. Come have tea. Like, what the hell? I don't know if I would have done that.
Okay, right. You wouldn't have done that, no. But, you know, a lonely lady who just lost her daughter a year ago.
I guess so.
Yeah, I can see it. My other like here, and this is what sort of got me thinking about maybe a little bit of a different change to this movie, was that I really liked the Section 9 crew, and I thought that maybe everything needed to revolve a little bit more around them, because they were in her corner, and so you want to like them.
Yeah.
You know, they've got Major's back, even though they're going to be in trouble for not listening to the rich white guy.
Yeah, you know, and I definitely agree with you on that. I really enjoyed the crew, and I really enjoyed the head dude also, the guy that they kept talking to through the mind comms, which is also probably one of my weird little stupid quirks where they added in the weird anime. We're not going to add in like animate the mouth Because that's what the original movie did.
You know
like,
what,
it's a
though?
cool thing.
Right.
Yeah, I get that it's a cool thing, but like, I still, because it's anime, I still feel like that was like a cut. You know what I mean? Like, that was. It's one of those things where it's like, you know how Star Trek is, where they didn't want to have the ship land, so they came up with the transporter. And it's now a staple and something that's really cool. But I mean, the original reason is like, how are we going to get these people on this planet? That's how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ship can't reach escape velocity, right?
So it's kind of like one of those types of things. But I really enjoyed that head dude that they were talking about on the Minecons. Why can I not think of his name? Aramaki?
I don't know. You didn't have it up here, but
isn't it Aramaki?
The guy who always spoke Japanese.
Yeah, it was Aramaki. That's who it was. No, I had that up there. Anyway, that guy was just such a cool character, and he basically, I really enjoyed one of the ending sequence, the very end sequence I loved with him is that even though he's the head guy, I like how he asks Major. You know what I mean? He's just like, how do you have anything you want to say to him? and so she's just like, I give my consent, and he's just like, bam. And I thoroughly enjoyed the scene where he says, don't send a rabbit to kill a fox.
Don't send a rabbit to kill a fox is an awesome line.
Oh, it's an amazing line. And I love that aspect of this movie. So you're right. All of that kind of stuff where they all have her back and everything. You're not wrong. I think this would have been a far better movie had they focused more on those characters. Because even though you only got a hint of all of them, I liked all of them. You know, there was only like 4 or 5 of them, but like you really didn't get to know much of them. But the way they revolved around Major and how much they respected her, it to me it just seemed like it'd been really cool had they have focused more on that. But that's not how they did the movie. But I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah, and there's even like that line because one of the guys who gets very little screen time, has her back with the sniper rifle.
Yes.
And the boss asks, is Major safe yet? Something like that. And and his response is, well, she's about to be.
Yep.
And he just boom takes out that helicopter.
Takes out the whole helicopter. It was just such
I was just like, God, this is awesome. Like,
right?
What a cool thing to have in this movie.
Right.
That I think they just needed to have more of.
More of, yeah. And I think that would have.
Yeah.
I think that would have even helped a lot with how, because another problem I had with the movie was, like I said earlier, how I was just kind of bored through a lot of the movie. And so having more of just kind of going back and forth with these guys on these missions, I think would have been a little more interesting of a movie. And then throughout this mission, they come up with this Kuze character and all these other, and even Cutter if they needed to go that far. So it was a pretty interesting thing on there. The character I didn't have on there was Cutter, though. That was the one I didn't have.
Right. He's pretty far down on the billing for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But,
he's really far down on the billing. I don't know why that is, but it is what it is.
All right.
Do you have any more likes?
No, I think that's it for me.
Okay. I think we've already discussed my likes. I agree with I thought it was visually stunning, and I thought that it felt like they got the look and feel of the anime, even just with the really pretty shots. That's how the anime was, too. In 95, and that's how most anime is. They're usually visually beautiful, and they did that in this movie, and so it just looks great, and it feels like it should, and that was my 2 major likes about this movie.
Awesome.
All right, you want to go ahead and rate this thing?
Let's rate it.
All right, so like I was saying before, I think it has quite a few little issues with kind of how the story goes, and it's not quite explained. But then again, it's based off of an anime that does the same, and it feels that way too. And just even after talking with you through this, before I was honestly gonna say skip this one.
Ooh.
Like that's where I was at. But after talking through with you on this one, I say rent it.
Oh man.
All right.
I think it's just too damn good looking to rent. I say see it.
All right.
Go see it. Go see ScarJo.
That is, I definitely understand your point in that, because seeing the visuals on the big screen would be nice, but I just can't do it. I don't think it's worth enough to go to spend some cash.
I disagree with you.
All right.
I think it's better than what a lot of people are saying.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's sign out. Okay. So if anybody wants to contact
I don't sign out, you sign out.
Oh man. We always have our home on the web, halfpasspodcast.com.
Like us on Facebook.
Rate us on iTunes and Google Play.
We're on Stitcher and Libsyn.
Email us at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com. Let us know you're listening.
Twitter us. That's right.
Twitter
us at Half Past Podcast.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. In 2 weeks, we have The Fate of the Furious.
Yep.
Oh,
is that in 2 weeks?
It's in 2 weeks. I believe it's April 14th.
So you know what we got to do, right?
What's that?
We got to do our makeup.
Oh, you want to see if we can't squeeze in Power Rangers?
Go. We got to go, man.
Did you see Power Rangers? You did see it.
No,
you said you had
I haven't seen it yet. I want to go and see it. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's see what we can do. Maybe we can squeeze it in.
Go. All right.
All right.
Come on, let's do it.
This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jonesy.
See you next flick.